Hi, my name is Adam Pateo, and this is my discussion post number 2, video reflection for speech sound disorders. Um, while thinking about this post and everything that went into it, and reflecting on personal connections, um, it makes me recall conversations I had with my wife and I, between us and my brother and sister-in-law, about our niece. She had a pretty below average vocabulary for her age when she was around 3 years old, and had shown some specific problems that had us concerned that there was some kind of either cognitive delay or some delay in her verbal processing. And with that delay, we had to have those hard conversations with them. And as professionals, they understood something was wrong, and between them and their pediatrician and the local school district, my niece eventually ended up being qualified for services in special education for early intervention, and she started receiving those speech services 2 to 3 times a week, and it really ended up helping her. And now that 3 or 4 years have passed since then, I can really see the difference. She now is, I'd say, on par with her peers. My son is the same age as her, and really I can't tell a difference in her speech with his, and he's never shown any kinds of delays or anything. And it really has been a great positive example of why we have those conversations and how it can be supportive to help those individuals. And then, with that being a positive example, I can also see that there are times where there's negative situations. And it made me recall an example where a friend that I had growing up, I had not seen her in several years, and we met for coffee. And in this conversation about how much life had changed, she started talking about her daughter, and she asked for my professional opinion that at 3 years old, her daughter had really shown no intentions, or had yet to begun using intentional language, and she was basically nonverbal. And she asked for my professional opinion, and as an educator, I had to be honest with her, but I tried to be as nice as I could and explain that as a secondary education teacher, that's not my expertise. But it did not sound normal to me. And so we talked about what did her pediatrician think, and the pediatrician, it was something that she couldn't even talk about. She had not taken the daughter to the pediatrician since birth, and that as a single parent, the child was being watched by an elderly aunt and was spending very little time being stimulated, and was spending a lot of time in the crib or sitting in front of the TV, but was not developing any kind of language use. And so rather than being in a daycare or any kind of facility where development could be monitored, or deficits could be identified and assessed, she was spending each day just spending time there. She wasn't actually spending any time doing any learning or growing or academic support or anything. And that was concerning. And so we had to talk about that being some really negatives that could lead to some social implications and academic implications that could really delay this child in their future. And so we talked about that it was pretty clear that she needed to seek out some additional professional support. And that went very poorly. This friend accused me of judging her and calling her a bad parent, which I didn't do, because that was not my place. It's not my child. And though it was clear that she just wanted to vent, she didn't really want help and support. She just wanted me to tell her there was nothing wrong, and I was not able to do that. But I tried to be as nice as I could, and we talked about what could happen if they didn't get any support, and that it was necessary. And she grabbed her stuff and said, "How dare I say anything was wrong with her baby, and that I don't know how hard being a single parent is." And so she gathered her stuff and she just left. And so even though I had never accused her of doing any of those things or anything wrong, she just wanted to vent. So After she gathered her things, she left, and basically our friendship ended that day. And it was a very poor example of, those kinds of conversations. But eventually she did get support for her daughter, and from information I've gathered through mutual friends and other people in the situation, her daughter now, 3 to 4 years later, is doing much better in terms of her use of verbal language. She still receives speech services, in school, but I hate that I lost this friendship. But the sacrifice of a friendship was definitely worth it, if the child eventually started getting the support that she needed. And I feel like as an educator, that's our job and responsibility.